Howdy guys, what is going on everybody? Good morning. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Thursday. Good to have you guys here for another update, my friends. So we got ourselves some new updates here. We're going to dive into models. We're going to dive into the outlook and everything for the next several days as we are expecting, unfortunately, a lot of severe weather coming up here. That we'll definitely need to be looking out there for. But anyways, folks, good morning. Let's see who we got here today. We have Connor, we have Tabletop, we have Ohio, we have Logan, we have Xavier, we have Tom. Of course, everybody else who is joining and not chatting. Hope you guys are doing good this morning. So, like I mentioned, yeah, we got several days worth of severe weather going on here. Actually, even today, we do have 2 slight risk areas, level 2 threats for today. Let's go ahead and talk about those real quickly, and then we'll dive into the big risk that we have here coming up for Sunday and Monday. What's up, Polly? Saying good morning, everyone. Good morning to you as well. What's up, Found by Chance? Saying hello. What's up? What's up, Roby? Saying we need rain. Yeah, honestly, I do too. Down here in Florida, it's actually pretty dry. Out where I'm at as well, so I could honestly use it as well. Anyways, folks, so yeah, looking at today's outlook real quickly, so we do have 2 slight risk areas here. The greatest concern for severe weather today is going to be across like northeastern Kansas, extreme southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, northwestern Missouri, and also southern Texas. We have a slight risk out here, level 2 threat. Now, the dark green areas, as you guys may or may not know, the dark green and the yellow, these are risk areas for potential severe weather. So if you're in the dark green areas, if you're in the yellow, you have a chance for severe weather today. And of course, this light green area here, this is just a chance for some thunderstorms. This is just a generalized thunderstorm threat, where a couple of, thunderstorms can't be ruled out for today. But, severe weather potential does exist today towards the Midwest out there in the Central Plains and also like southern Texas, like we mentioned here. Now, tornado probability, we do have a 2% chance for tornadoes today. So an isolated tornado or 2 cannot be ruled out in southern Texas today, including some of the areas out by like Corpus Christi. And then working our way up here to the Midwest, we have a little 2% chance where also an isolated tornado or 2 could be possible for portions of northern Missouri, northeastern Kansas, southeast Nebraska, and a little bit of southwestern Iowa, where once again, an isolated tornado or 2 could be possible. What's up, Cherokee? Saying good morning. Just missed our first severe storms in southeast Nebraska. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Southeast Nebraska. So we do, it depends on where you're at, but we do have a threat for later today of a little bit of severe weather out there. So keep an eye out there for that. But hopefully you're doing good, my friend. Glad to have you here. Found by Chance says storms just moving here in St. Joseph, Missouri. Yeah, so if we actually take a look at the current radar real quickly, you guys can actually see we do have a little bit of rain and thunderstorm activity kicking off. We have a little line of storms up here in eastern Kansas. I did have the radar up here. These are non-severe storms. These are just kind of just normal thunderstorms kicking off here currently. But nothing really too crazy with these guys. But we do have some morning convection. We do have ourselves a bit of activity kicking off here across the Midwest and everything like that. So, yeah, a little bit of rain, a little bit of storm activity out there. But like we mentioned, later today, we do have that risk out there for severe weather. We're going to go ahead and hop our way back over here to the Midwest and whatnot. But, yeah, so we do have that level 2 threat out there. Now, regarding damaging wind gusts, down in southern Texas, we have a 15% chance out here for some gusty winds to potentially occur in some of those storms. So if you're across the brown, that's a 5% chance probability of seeing damaging wind gusts on these storms, and then the yellow is a 15% chance here. So basically, we are talking potential wind gusts in these storms for both, southern Texas and some of those storms out there by the Midwest. Some of those wind gusts could get between 60, maybe upwards of 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts today. So that will be possible. And of course, lastly, regarding hail, we do actually have a little 15% risk area here for hail. Kind of towards the state lines of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and of course Missouri. Just north of Kansas City here, we do have a 15% chance out there there overall for for hail. And we're talking potential hail ranging between 1 to 2 inches in diameter, and which also down in southern Texas we do have that as well. So that is kind of what we're looking at for today's threat. So a couple isolated tornadoes across the Midwest, in the Central Plains couldn't be ruled out, and same thing for southern Texas today. We do have that potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds here. Let's see here. Cinnamon Bun says, hi from Australia. What's up? Hope you're doing good. Welcome, welcome. Hello from across the world, my friend. Hopefully you're doing good. What's up, Spencer? Let's see here. Do I think northern Indiana will see anything? Keeps going up and wind shear keeps going up. What do I think? So as of now, I don't think that I don't think they have northern Indiana still in that risk here. So as of now, northern Indiana is not in the risk here for severe weather on Sunday. So we'll keep it out there for your area, but just know right now you're not in that risk area. Okay. Let's see here. Tabletop says, hi to Andrew. Thoughts on coastal North Carolina for Sunday? So Sunday, there's not going to be any severe weather out there. So Sunday, there is going to be potential for severe weather west of you. However, Monday could be a concern, maybe for a little bit of severe weather. We do have that 15% out there, which we'll get to here in a second. Let's see here. Let's see, I'm talking for Sunday. Do I think we'll see anything? Everything keeps going up and it's looking more favorable rather than moderate. What do I think? So we'll have to see. Like I said, we'll definitely keep you in the loop of everything. As of now, just go off of what the risk is from the SPC. Storm Prediction Center does not have you in that risk area currently. While models might be saying, some instability and some favorability for severe weather could be occurring, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will 100% happen. Because models can change, and given the fact that we're still kind of in that long range of things, we're not quite in the mid range yet with the models and what all. Like I mentioned, there's really 3 main classifiers of models. You got the short range, you got the mid range, and the long range. We're in the long range right now, meaning that it's still pretty far out, and the long range model guidance does tend to change quite frequently. Now, I'm not saying that you won't see any potential for severe weather, but what you should go off of currently is that the Storm Prediction Center does not have you in the risk currently, which northern Indiana is not in that 15%. Okay. However, central southern Indiana, that's a little bit of a different story, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, let's see here. Facts, we'll go ahead and hop over here to your zip code real quickly, and then we're going to hop our way into the future outlook. So you're up here in Kansas, so yeah, you do have a little shot for severe weather today. We do have a little marginal risk out there, so a little bit of storm activity can't be ruled out today, so keep that in mind. It is a level 1 threat out there for severe weather, and like we mentioned here today, we do have a potential for a couple isolated tornadoes. That's just north of you, though. You're not in that active tornado threat. You have a potential for some gusty winds and some hail. Some of those wind gusts could, exceed 60 miles an hour in those storms, potentially. Very low probability, as you do have a 5% chance for that. And in terms of hail, we do also have a 5% chance for hail, too. Between 1 to 2 inches in diameter couldn't be ruled out. So a little bit of hail, a little bit of gusty winds today. No really tornadic activity is expected in your area. Overall. So, all right, so then we're going to work our way into tomorrow's risk real quickly. So we're kind of gradually working our way up to this severe weather event. So for tomorrow, being Friday, we do have a marginal risk for severe weather, a little risk for severe weather tomorrow across portions here of Nebraska, going into Iowa, southern Minnesota, central northern Wisconsin, even up into the upper state of Michigan here. We do have a marginal risk, a level 1 threat for severe weather tomorrow. And then, of course, also for the deep south, out there by eastern central Texas, as well as kind of central western Louisiana, and a little bit of southern Arkansas. We do have another risk out there for potential severe weather. Now, tornado probability, we do actually have a pretty decent sized 2% risk out there for, tornadic activity. So for tomorrow, we do have a chance for tornadoes in the green area today. A couple of tornadoes cannot be ruled out. The good news is that, if we did get tornadoes, they would likely remain weak, likely would remain brief as well, likely wouldn't be anything super significant. However, we cannot rule out a couple of tornadoes in the green area here for tomorrow. Now, the good news is that up here in northern, up in the northern risk area that we were talking about here, towards the upper Midwest and the Central Plains, we do not have a tornado risk out there tomorrow, which is good news. However, damaging wind gusts here across the Brown, which is a 5% chance area. And same thing for the deep south here as well. We have potential for some damaging wind gusts on those storms. Could potentially reach 60, maybe upwards of 70 miles an hour. Can't be ruled out. And of course, regarding hail, we do have a 5% chance as well across these two risk areas here for tomorrow. Some hail between 1 to 2 inches in diameter couldn't be ruled out as well. So that's there for Friday's threat. So then we work our way to Saturday. Saturday, we have another little risk out there across the Midwest, Central Plains. Level 1 threat, nothing super crazy here, at least for Saturday. Nothing really going on here. We do have a lot of areas in this generalized thunderstorm risk, though. As you guys can see, this light shade of green, this is where some thunderstorm activity can't be ruled out, but not necessarily expected to be severe. However, across the the green, that's just a low end chance for a little bit of severe weather being possible. So that's that. So now we're going to work our way into the big days here, but I'm going to take a look at the chat real quickly. All right, so let's see. Cherokee says, remember to hit that like button. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. Logan says, what do I think for tomorrow in Wisconsin? So, yeah, like we mentioned, tomorrow we do have a marginal out there in central and northern Wisconsin. The good news, like I mentioned, not really any tornadic activity is expected. In terms of gusty winds, honestly, the threat for damaging wind gusts doesn't really exist in Wisconsin either. The only concern really for storms tomorrow for Wisconsin is going to be the threat for hail, potential between 1 to 2 inches in diameter. So that's kind of the only concern that we have as of right now. Remember, outlooks can change. We could be added to a wind risk or whatnot. But currently, you're really only in that concern for hail. That's kind of the only concern as of right now. Let's see here. Dixie says, thank you. No problem. You're very welcome. Let's see here. Steele says, let's see here. The NAM is showing more cape up towards Chicago and South Bend. Gotcha. Yeah, we'll look at the models here in a few moments. But once we get through the risk areas here, which we're heading into the big event now. Let's see here. Carp says, you do a great job. Thank you. I appreciate that, Carp. That's really nice of you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I try my best to keep you guys informed, and, I might not be the best out there, but I do help as much as I can, and I do try my hardest to help keep you guys informed, but thank you for that. I really appreciate it, my friend. Let's see here. Dixie, coming in with a $5 Venmo donation. Thank you so much, Dixie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dixie. I really appreciate your support, my friend, for the $5 on Venmo. Thank you so much. You did not have to do that, my friend. That was really, really sweet of you. I appreciate that. Big shout out goes to you, Dixie. Thank you so much. So, all right. So now we work our way into the big days. So the big event for severe weather starts on Sunday. So like we mentioned, between today, tomorrow, and Friday, tomorrow is Friday. Between today being Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we do have relatively little risks for severe weather across the regions we talked about. So then we work our way into Sunday, which Sunday is going to be the start of the big days of severe weather. So Sunday and Monday, as of right now, are like the greatest concerns for severe weather. So for Sunday, we do have, so if you're in the yellow area, you are at risk for severe weather on Sunday. This includes Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. You guys are included in the risk out there for severe weather on Sunday. Now, the thing is right now is that there is no breakdown between the exact probability for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. We're not quite to that point yet where we can tell you the exact potential, the exact probability for those. But what I can tell you now is that if you guys are in the yellow, you have a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather. So what does that mean? So basically, within a 25-mile radius of your location, so let's just use an example. We'll use St. Louis for an example here. So within a 25-mile radius of your location, so say you live right where that red dot is, okay? So within a 25-mile radius around you, there is a 15% chance that we could get severe weather occurring in those areas. And that's kind of a collective between the threat for tornadic activity, damaging winds, and hail. It doesn't mean that, we will see all of those, but it just means that the risk for severe weather is there. And you currently have a 15% risk out there for seeing severe weather. So that really applies to everybody here in this yellow risk area for Sunday. So that's really all I can tell you about the probabilities as of right now for Sunday's risk here. So then we work our way over into Monday. So like I said, the continuation of severe weather will linger into Monday as well. For more areas to the east, the threat for Monday does include a little bit of Texas, very little bit of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, actually, Georgia, both the North and South Carolina here, Eastern Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and even Maryland. I think I said Maryland. But yeah, we do have the potential for severe weather out there. Once again, kind of the same probability for Monday's concern as it is for Sunday's currently. So same thing applies, 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather here for Monday across the east. Now, as we work our way into Tuesday, predictability is too low currently. At the current moment, there is no risk here for Tuesday, and anything further down in the outlook, that's kind of what we got going on. Not really much anything after that. So, yeah, once again, the big day here is Sunday, working its way into Monday. These areas here in the yellow definitely need to be weather aware. Make sure that you guys know where to go in case of severe weather, in case if warnings are issued. Just make sure you have a plan, know where to go if warnings are issued, which obviously we're still several days away from this event here. It's about 4 days out from the beginning of it. So just know that we are still a little bit away from the event, and we do have time to prepare. So just make sure you guys know what to do, okay? But yeah, once again, Sunday is where all that mess really starts to occur. Then that lingers into Monday here across the south. I mean, as you can tell, there's a pretty good amount of people involved in this system here. We do have, like I said, a very large 15% risk area here, and a very large 15% risk area here for both Sunday and Monday in general. So that's that. Dixie says, I appreciate you. You as well, Dixie. Thank you so much once again for the support. I appreciate it. Steele says, is 1,000 joules per kilogram enough for an enhanced risk? So it's not strictly based off of instability. There is other criteria that must be met in order to, have a risk like that. So really the main things for severe weather that we look at is moisture, instability, and wind shear. So wind shear being those winds throughout the atmosphere, not necessarily at one level, but just, throughout the entire atmosphere. Wind shear is very important for storm organization and kind of the mode of storm potential. For example, wind shear, if we have the conditions that are right, the wind shear could, allow for more of a tornadic event, given those conditions are met. What you need to know is it's not based off of just, like I said, it's really not just based off of instability. So keep that in mind. There's a lot more things that go into it than just the instability. Let's see here. Yeah, we're getting ready to get in the models, so don't worry about that. We'll get ready to get into the models here very soon. Tabletop says, do I know why people are hyping up Monday's outlook? That's all I've seen in the last few days. So Monday, like we mentioned, is a continuation of severe weather from Sunday. So Sunday, obviously, we have that big risk across like the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, the South here. And Monday, as that cold front moves eastward, so does that severe weather threat. The reason, like I said, that we're concerned here is because, it does appear that we do have a lot of instability for storms. Still decent lingering wind shear as well, which could contribute to, in my opinion, mostly a damaging wind and hail threat. Still tornadoes, I think, would be possible, but not the leading concern. And I've been saying that the last couple of days because, that's kind of what I've been seeing here, at least from the models, is that, yes, there could be tornadic activity for sure, and there probably could be, in general. But with that being said, I don't think that's the main issue. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop into models. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at those models and stuff here overall. So we're going to start off with the GFS. This is the American Long Range Model. This is the one we, use quite commonly. on this channel here, but obviously it's good to take more than one model opinion. You shouldn't really base your forecast off of a singular model, but just looking at the GFS to kind of get an example or kind of an idea of what we could be seeing here for both, like I said, Sunday and Monday, the big days of severe weather. So we're looking at the instability, the amount of fuel in the atmosphere overall, potentially, how much energy there could be, in the atmosphere, how much unstable air, how much fuel for these storms there could be. So, time is in the top right if you guys want to follow along. This is in Eastern time. So you see as we work our way over here into kind of late Saturday, actually, we really start building in a lot of instability, a lot of potential fuel for those storms, up across the southern plains, central plains, and portions of the Midwest. We start to build in a lot of instability as we really get a lot of that northerly air advection, a lot of that moisture, a lot of that warmth coming up from the Gulf here. But yeah, we really start to build in a lot of instability here for Saturday. That's kind of leading us up to the big event here. So we roll through Saturday, going to early Sunday, and by the time we approach the evening of Sunday, you guys can see that we really build in a lot of instability. I mean, a lot of potential fuel for storms out here. Take this with a grain of salt. Remember, this is just one model. This is just one model run as well. But you can see here for kind of the evening on Sunday, we really build in a lot of instability. The fuel for storms really shoots its way up quite far into the country here in general, and which you guys can see, like I said, here for Sunday, for later portion of Sunday, a lot of places here are in that risk area that we were talking about earlier, but you can see why. There's a lot of instability throughout a lot of these regions here for potential severe weather. So that's that. So then we work our way into Monday. So we do have this cold front that's rolling through. We're going to have a lot of that cooler air backing in on the backside here, kind of pushing through. And so all that instability is going to kind of, roll out of the regions here in the Midwest here for pretty much Monday. But yeah, as you can see for Monday though, across, right around the afternoon hours or so, you can still see we do have a decent amount of instability working its way across the east, which, would you look at that? It looks kind of similar to our risk area, doesn't it? So that's kind of where we have some of that instability here. Obviously for Monday, as you can see. So some of that lingering unstable air, the fuel for storms, does work its way up into the mid-Atlantic, and even southern New England. Even southern New England, could see a little bit of storm activity. But so yeah, you can see the fuel does reach up there. And as we approach our way into Tuesday, in my opinion, we could have maybe a low-end threat for severe weather across Florida, possibly for Tuesday. I'm not going to rule that out completely right now because, it seems quite possible. The only thing that would really limit potential for Tuesday, across like Florida and whatnot, would be low-end wind shear. There's really not much strong winds in the atmosphere to really organize these storms, but there could potentially be maybe some storm activity. We'll have to see for Tuesday. If we did, it would likely be across Florida, but we'll keep an eye out there for that overall. But yeah, the good news is that generally speaking, Tuesday, that's when a lot of this mess will be pretty much over, because at this point in time, we'll start to build in a lot of high pressure across the the central eastern country, in which we'll definitely start to get a little bit of that cooler air working its way into the region, more stable air, which will allow for things to finally calm down a bit there for Tuesday. So, but once again, yep. So Sunday and Monday, those are the two big days where you can see we really start to build in a lot of instability here. For Sunday, working our way up here into Monday, and then it should be out by Tuesday, as we do have that high pressure ridge building back in, thankfully. So that'll be pretty good. Let's see here. What's up, Ohio? Hope you're doing good. Welcome. Catloaf said, "What's up? Hope we're doing good, my friend." Samuel says, "Hi." Let's see here. Bad thunderstorms. So, Samuel, there is no exact breakdown probability for severe weather right now, for those days. All we can really tell you is that there's a 15% chance for just seeing severe weather in general. That's not necessarily the tornado risk. It's not a 15% for tornadoes. It's just a 15% for severe weather in general. So we'll have to keep an eye out there for your area here between late Sunday going into Monday, as you are in that 15% risk area. What's up, Tiffany? Hope you're doing good. Saying watching from Huntsville. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Yeah, so Huntsville is actually in the risk here for Sunday, going into Monday, actually. So keep an eye out there for that area, my friend. Still, like I said, still several days out, in which there is still room for changes and everything. We're likely going to be seeing changes in the models over the next several days. Remember, we are still in the long range of things. We're starting to kind of work our way into the mid range of the models here, but we're still kind of in long range forecasting currently. So there is definitely expected to be a lot of changes in the forecast overall. So we'll see what happens. Athena says, let's see here. Says, keep up the great work, Andrew. I appreciate that. Let me take a look at your zip code. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on for your area. We're going to hop on back over here real quick. We'll dive more into the models here in a moment. So for Florida, so here actually for Monday, you can see just to the north of your location, we do have a 15% chance probability for severe weather. So you're not really in that risk, but you're close. You're close. I would keep an eye out there for kind of late Monday, maybe going into Tuesday. There could be some potential for storm activity, thunderstorm activity. Perhaps severe weather, we'll have to see. I do think it is possible. So we'll keep an eye out there for that region, but just know right now you're not in that 15% risk area, but you're slightly to the south of it. You're not too far from it at all. So we'll keep it out there for Athena. Once again, this is still kind of long range. There's still, room for changes and whatnot. I mean, Storm Prediction Center could add you to the risk area. We'll have to see what happens. But as of right now, you're not in that 15% risk area overall. Let's see here. You're welcome, Salmon. No problem. Unknown says watching from Lake Charles, Louisiana. So yeah, Louisiana's got to be on the lookout too. You can see Lake Charles down here. We do have a 15% chance for severe weather here on Monday. So keep an eye out there for Monday's concern, as we do have a little bit of severe weather possibility out there. So just a bit of a heads up for you. Let's see here. How's Kentucky looking for Sunday? So for Sunday, let's go and hop back to Sunday's risk real quickly. That is going to be day 4. So, yeah, as you can see, all of Kentucky is in that 15% risk area. Like I mentioned, not everybody in this risk area will see severe weather, so keep that in mind. We do have potential for severe thunderstorm activity all throughout Kentucky. So that would include you, of course. So keep an eye out there for it. Kentucky does have that concern for severe weather overall. Like we mentioned, right now there's currently no breakdown for the exact probability of tornadic activity, damaging winds or hail. That's not available yet. We'll get that the day before the event, that exact probability. But currently, it's a 15% chance of just seeing severe weather collectively throughout Kentucky. So it is a possibility. It is a possibility for severe weather, and something that we definitely should keep an eye out there for there overall. So we'll definitely keep you in the loop with that. But so yeah, I would definitely keep an eye out there for Sunday, as severe weather definitely does seem to be like a concern. And I'm actually going to bring up the models real quickly here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the GFS again for Kentucky, just to kind of look at things here. So looking at the instability, once we approach our way into pretty much late Sunday, which, Sunday's going to be that main risk, I'm going to grab a sounding across central Kentucky just to kind of see what the atmosphere could look like around the time given. Okay, so say this was the atmosphere at the time here for late Sunday going into early Monday. One thing I do want to mention here is that there is a little bit of veering winds here in the lower atmosphere. So on ground level, here towards the surface, we are seeing these winds go to the northeast at the lower levels. And as we go up in altitude, the wind direction changes going more to the east. So there is a bit of veering, and we do have some decent helicity values here, suggesting that we could get some potential rotating storms we call supercells. So thunderstorm, potential for, tornadic activity definitely seems possible for portions of Kentucky for late Sunday. So keep an eye out there for that. That wouldn't really be the only concern. There'd also be potential for, some damaging wind gusts and maybe some small hail as well, given a sounding like this. Remember, this is also one model run and whatnot. So obviously, this could look a little different the day of course, especially since we're still in the long range here. But, but given a sounding like this, does suggest maybe some tornadic activity, and perhaps, maybe some gusty gusty winds and maybe some small hail as well. So that's something we'll have to we'll definitely have to kind of look into. Let's see here. Athena says mostly just hoping for some rain, getting dry, the garden's going. Gotcha. Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been pretty dry here as well in Central Florida. It's actually been pretty dry. We definitely need some rain as well. Let's see here. Found by chance says thunderstorm warnings out west of me near Topeka. Yeah, actually, I did see that a second ago. When I was going over the risk area, I saw that we do have some polygons out here. I guess we can take a peek real quickly. Wouldn't hurt to take a look and see what's going on out there. So, ooh. So these are some big hailers, actually. Look at that. Yeah, radar shows some pretty high DBZ here, pretty high reflectivity values here. That's like 60, almost 70 DBZ. That's pretty high. That's pretty high reflectivity there. Jeez. So yeah, there definitely is likely some hail in the storms here. Ping pong ball size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. $50 size hail. Yeah, so definitely hail threat is a big concern. I mean, look at this. We're 10 in the morning local to these regions here, and we're already seeing like over quarter size hail or near quarter size hail, or quarter size hail being reported here, but potentially above that. With these warnings here. Yeah, so we'll definitely keep an eye out there for those regions in the Central Plains, Midwest today. Remember, we do have a severe weather threat out here today, which I'll briefly show you guys once again for the new people joining. So for today, like I mentioned, we do actually have a slight risk today, just north of Kansas City area. Main concern actually for this area is going to be hail, damaging wind gusts possible as well, and we do have a little 2% tornado risk there. So an isolated tornado or two can't be ruled out here for today up here in the Midwest. Just a little risk up there, and of course southern Texas does have one as well. What's up, Rill? Saying, good morning, Andrew. Could you please check on, see when the risk is for Missouri? It might be. So your risk in Missouri is going to be on Sunday. Sunday. That's going to be the day that you need to be weather aware. Okay, so we should definitely keep it out there. First of all, let me see. So just a bit of a heads up. Actually, you are in that marginal risk today. There's a little shot for severe weather today. No tornadic activity is expected in your area. That's just a little risk to your north. In terms of damaging winds, there is potential for some gusty winds in some of the storms potentially today. Remember, not everybody will see severe weather, but there is that potential. The atmosphere could produce some gusty winds and some hail towards the region today. Hail would likely be between 1 to 2 inches in diameter if we did get it. And in terms of damaging wind gusts, potentially like 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts or greater could be possible, across some of those regions there. So that's that. Now, tomorrow you're not in any risk. So actually also for Saturday you're going to be in the risk here as well. A little marginal risk out there for severe weather. And then, of course, Sunday, you are right on the edge of that 15%, but you are in the 15% risk here. So between Saturday and Sunday, we definitely need you to be weather aware out there. As a bit of severe weather is certainly going to be possible out there. But remember, for Sunday and Monday, for the big days, like we mentioned, so this is Sunday here, and this is Monday. We don't have the breakdown probability, exact yet for, tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. The exact probability is not yet available. But, once we get that information, we'll definitely let you know. All right, let's see here. Did I see hail in Texas the other day? I did not. Let's see, Found by Chance says I was really wanting to go in to an estate sale in Missouri, but I'm afraid I'll get stuck in some weather. It depends on the time of it. I mean, if it's early, then you might be able to beat the storms here, because these storms would likely kick off sometime in the afternoon or evening. Let's see here. Yeah, you're kind of up by the Kansas City area. So here's actually one thing. You said when is that? Found by Chance, when is that estate sale thing that you want to go to? Because the reason I say that is because Sunday you're just outside of that 15% risk area. Doesn't mean you won't see storms, but as of now, you're not in that big risk. Looking back at the models here too, towards Missouri, it doesn't seem like we have a whole lot of instability here for Sunday. Let's see here. Found by chance says I could leave now today. Gotcha. Okay, so today that's a little different. Let's see here. So we do have, a fair amount of instability building in for later today. It's pretty capped out, though, so storms might have a little hard time developing. Let me pull up NAM. NAM suggests a bit of instability here as well. Let me pull up the reflectivity or future radar here. To be quite fair, HRRR does suggest maybe some storms later in the evening developing, but to be quite fair, you should be pretty good to go. I wouldn't let this hold you back, to be quite honest with you. Even then, like I said, it's a relatively low-end threat today. What are the soundings for Nashville on Sunday, please? Sure. Let me pull this up real quickly. So this is up in Tennessee. So Nashville. Let's go ahead and pull up this. But just a bit of a heads up once again, this is also one model. This is one model run too. So, remember, things can still change as well. But just, getting a little glimpse of what the atmosphere could look like out by Nashville for late Sunday. Let's see what the GFS suggests out here. Okay, so, the first thing I do notice is that there is some veering going on. So in our lower atmosphere, towards, basically ground level, our winds are moving pretty much to the north here, as you can see. Winds are going to the north at surface level. And as we go up in altitude here, the wind direction does change a bit to the northeast. So there is a bit of veering going on. Our hodograph does suggest this as well. You can see that curvature there, indicating that the winds are changing direction and increasing in wind speed with altitude. Storm relative helicity values are pretty decent as well. This could suggest maybe some tornadic activity out here. That is something I would keep an eye out there for. I wouldn't rule out the potential for tornadic activity here, given a sounding like this. There's a pretty decent amount of instability, not really anything excessive, but there is a pretty good amount of instability through the atmosphere here. Given an event like this, tornadoes and damaging wind gusts would likely be the main driver. Still wouldn't rule out potential for hail either, but main concern would likely be maybe some tornadic activity, maybe some damaging wind gusts overall. Remember, once again, this is just one model. This is just one model run, and like we mentioned, we're still kind of in the long range of forecasting, so there could definitely be some big changes between now and the event. So just keep that in mind. But GFS does suggest that potential as of right now for maybe some gusty winds, and like I mentioned, maybe some isolated tornadic activity can't be ruled out, just given that potential. Let's see here. Today's the first day, can go tomorrow, but found by chance, it's up to you, honestly. I think you would be okay going. Like I mentioned, it's a relatively low-end threat. There could be potential for storms later this evening, like we mentioned, so keep an eye out there for that. But I wouldn't let that hold you back. Now, if this was like Sunday or Monday, and you were in the main risk area, that may be a little different, but given today, it's a low-end threat for your area. Let's see here. Samuel says, let's see your next live stream time. I'm not sure. It's whenever I get to it. ATR says, can I check the sounding for 96 South Carolina, Greenwood, South Carolina? Yeah, I got you, my friend. So remember, once again, like I said, this is kind of early talk in the models. We are still in long range and everything. And plus, like I said, this is just one model. Just a little bit of a disclaimer. Just wanted to let you know. So up here in South Carolina, so once again, your threat's going to be on Monday. So as we work our way into Monday, that's kind of our concern. GFS, at least in the latest run, does not really show a lot of instability out towards that region there. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and pull up most unstable and most unstable Cape here. So yeah, GFS does not really show a whole lot of instability out here. Euro, on the other hand, does suggest maybe a little bit more fuel for storms. So there is a bit of a difference there. So keep that in mind. Let me grab a sounding here for, let's just look for kind of early morning, because it looks like that's what GFS suggests, most of the instability kind of being within the region here. Yeah, not a lot of instability. There could be some storm activity on this, though, of course. Obviously we're in the risk area here. So we'll keep an eye out there for it. The good news is that the wind shear seems pretty weak. That would, allow for storms to not be as significant, given that, not as efficient organization could really occur. The stronger the winds, the more organized these systems could, or the more organized these storms could become. The fact that we have low end wind shear, throughout the atmosphere is a good sign. There could be potential for some gusty winds, given a sounding like this. Tornadic activity, not really. Given, low SRH, relative helicity values are pretty low. Not much veering going on. I don't see tornadoes being a big concern here. Let me try later on, late Monday. By this point in time, the cold front would likely roll through, and GFS does not really suggest any instability out here. Remember, things can still change, though. Still kind of early talk, but it does look like by evening, the wind shear, at least in the mid-upper atmosphere, does start to increase. But lower atmospheric winds are pretty weak for a lot of Monday. To be quite fair, that's actually a good sign, indicating that tornadic activity would likely be low, if any. So just. We'll see what happens. Remember, things can still change. We're still in early talk here. Models are, still fairly early. All right, let's see here. All right, Tanya wants me to look at the zip code. I got you, my friend. Let's go ahead and see what kind of risk you're in here. If you're in the risk here, you are in Georgia, my friend. So you are not in the risk for Sunday. So the day that you got to keep an eye out there for is going to be on Monday. That'll be day 5. So you can see you're in that 15% risk area here for severe weather on Monday. So there is going to be the potential for severe weather. As of right now, Storm Prediction Center does not have the breakdown for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. So the exact probability right now is unknown. We'll learn this the day before the event. We'll be able to tell you the exact probability before the event. So we'd figure that out on Sunday. What kind of risk you might be in for. So remember, 15% chance out there for severe weather. Looking at the models here, I'm going to grab a little sounding out here just to kind of see what we could be in store for. So you can see as we approach our way into kind of the afternoon of Monday, we do build in a pretty good amount of instability according to GFS. Remember, this is just one model to one run, so we'll take this lightly. We won't take this too serious, but just giving an example of what the atmosphere could look like here on kind of the afternoon on Monday. One of the things I do want to mention here is that our winds, at least our lower level winds, are fairly weak, which would be good. That would really kind of lower that tornadic potential. Once again, helicity values out here is pretty low, indicating that honestly, tornadic potential seems pretty low, given a sounding like this. However, I do see other concerns, not regarding tornadoes, but more of a threat for hail and damaging winds here. On the sounding analog here, you can see that we do have some results of potential, large hail here. So we'll have to look out for that. There could be some hail in a sounding like this, or given an atmospheric conditions like this. Maybe some damaging wind gusts here as well. So look out for gusty winds and hail. Probably going to be the main concern out there for Monday. Seems like the main tornado risk day is probably going to be Sunday. With the greatest wind shear, the greatest instability, moisture ratio. But once again, generally speaking, for this event, I don't think tornadoes is going to be the main issue. Once again, I think damaging wind gusts and hail are going to be the main issue following that tornado threat. So all hazards, I think, will be a concern. It's just, damaging winds and hail would likely be a higher priority concern over tornadoes. Anyways, let's see here. Thoughts on Sunday's tornado risk for south central Indiana towards Bloomington. So let's take a look at that real quickly. So up there in Indiana, we do have decent wind shear. And instability seems to be, decent here for late Sunday. Let me grab just a sounding out here, just to kind of suggest, just get a suggestion on what the atmosphere could look like from GFS here. Remember, once again, like I said, this is one model run and everything, so take this lightly. But given a sounding like this, okay, so the first thing I do want to mention is that there is a little bit of veering going on. So our lower atmosphere, at the ground level, the winds are going to the northeast. And as we climb up in elevation, the wind direction changes more to the east slightly. On the photograph, there's a little bit of an arch going on here, suggesting that we do have a change in wind direction and an increase in wind speed as we gain altitude. That's what you need for tornadic activity. Storm relative helicity also does suggest maybe some, weak tornadic activity could be quite possible. We can't rule out tornadoes in a sounding like this, so I would say that is a possibility here for Sunday. Given the, like I said, the instability, we have a fair amount of instability, nothing excessive, enough to get the job done. Hail could be a concern. Damaging winds could be a concern as well. But yeah, this is kind of an all-hazard sounding potentially. Should keep an eye out there for maybe all hazards ranging from tornadoes to large hail to damaging winds. But once again, this is still early talk too. This is also one model run. I just want to let you remember that. So things can still change, of course. Good morning, Calvin. Hope you're doing good. Let's see here. Connor wants me to look at a zip code real quickly. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting a little caught behind in the chat here. So for the people who was commenting, I'll get to you. So, Connor, you are not in the risk for Monday. However, Sunday, you are in that 15% risk area. So, we do need you to be weather aware on Sunday. We'll definitely keep an eye out there for the risk here. If we take a look here at the risk overall, let's see here. So this is for Ohio, kind of the western side. So for late Sunday, GFS suggests a pretty low amount of instability, a pretty low amount of fuel for storms, but still given that there is potential, especially since we have some pretty strong mid upper level wind shear that could definitely help make up for that lack of instability. There is, a pretty decent amount of, a little bit of veering going on here, so the winds are changing direction with altitude. Towards ground level, the winds are going northeast, and as we go up in altitude, the wind direction changes eastward. Photograph, once again, a little arch here suggesting the fact that, there is a little bit of turn in the atmosphere with the wind direction as we go up in altitude, and an increase in wind speed and helicity and everything does suggest maybe some tornadic activity. So we can't rule that out. Maybe some low-end tornadic activity could be possible. That's kind of the main concern given this sounding here. I mean, given that we have some pretty strong lower-level shear, pretty low decape, I mean, honestly, there could be some gusty winds in this, but we'll just have to see how the atmosphere continues to hold out. And like I said, this is just still kind of early talk too, in general. All right, let's see here. Tabletop says, can I grab a sounding for area? Yeah, I got you. Let me pull up this area real quickly. So this is going to be for kind of the afternoon on Monday. Let's grab a sounding out here. See what the GFS suggests. Once again, take this with a grain of salt. All right, so good news is that, wind shear, at least, especially in our lower atmosphere, is very weak. Would likely not support anything tornadic, which is good. The one thing I will say, though, that could be kind of the main concern given a sounding like this is hail. Hail and, maybe some gusty winds could be quite possible. I think hail would probably be your main threat here, given a sounding like this. Low helicity. Like I said, not much of a veering change in wind speeds and direction as we gain altitude. Really not much going on there for tornadic activity, which is good. Damaging winds, like I said, could certainly still be possible, and a bit of hail certainly does seem possible as well. So that's kind of the main concern out there for you. Let's see here. Carolina says, will it be strong tornadoes for Nashville, or could it be moderate or an enhanced risk for Sunday? So it's a little early to tell for anything, like that for the risk area. It depends on models. If they still continue to trend, maybe towards more of a severe setup or maybe less of a severe setup. It just depends. For Nashville, Tennessee out there, honestly, so given the potential we were talking about here for basically late Sunday, for the potential for like tornadic activity, if we were to get tornadic activity, it would likely be relatively on the lower scale, likely not anything significant. The main limiting factor for that would be the fact that our lower level wind shear is not super strong, which is good, but it definitely could be strong enough to support tornadoes. Helicity is relatively on the lower side, but could support tornadoes, of course, so we'll have to see. But just given that, to be quite fair, like I mentioned here, I mean, tornadoes are possible, but it would likely not be anything significant here. Let's see here. Renita coming in with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Renita. Saying, hey, Andrew, what is the wind speed for me, please? What size hail do I know yet? So the hail is a little early to estimate in size, given the fact this is for Monday. We're still 5 days out from now. So that's a little iffy. Can't really tell you the hail size quite yet. However, looking at our winds here, what I can do for you is I can pull up the models again for you. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. We'll take a quick little view of what the winds could definitely look like here. So this is the GFS model, and you can see you're out here by out by the Macon area. So according to the GFS here, as we work our way down in time here for, let's see here. Here we go. So as we approach our way into Monday, you could definitely see we could pick up, definitely some gusty winds out there, maybe upwards of 30 miles an hour. So look at that. This model run does not like you very much. There's that one little isolated area out by Macon that the winds are, upwards of 50 miles an hour. Don't take that serious. That's just one model run being stupid. We'll see, but. Yeah, honestly, definitely could be some gusty winds here on Monday, in excess of maybe 20, 30 miles an hour. Just given GFS, as of right now, we'll see what happens. That is what GFS suggests. Let me look at Euro. Like I said, it's good to combine model opinions here. It's never good to really just look at one model after all, because, well, that wouldn't be very good. Not really the best way of forecasting. So yeah, look at the Euro. So here for Monday as well, Euro suggests kind of the same thing, maybe 25, 30 mile an hour wind gusts out there. This is also non-thunderstorm winds as well. I want you to know that. This is just general winds, and how strong those winds could be, just from the existence, of this storm system here. Now, with the line of storms that potentially will be rolling through this area here right around Monday, there definitely could be some stronger wind gusts in those storms, okay? So keep an eye out there for that. But as of right now, winds are going to be within the range of 20 to 30 miles an hour. But look up here towards the Ohio Valley in the mid-Atlantic, dude. Wow. Boy, are those winds pretty strong out there. Could it knock down trees? 25, 30 mile an hour winds typically don't really cause a big problem for trees coming down. More of branches falling. It depends. I mean, maybe if it's a weak dead tree, maybe. But given that it is fairly low winds for that area overall. But one area I do want to mention, though, as you can see here from Monday, a lot of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast here, 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts out there according to Euro. Let's look at GFS here. Let's see how much that differs. We can see that there is, oh, wow. That's quite a difference here. Gee. Well, GFS definitely still shows some pretty strong winds here, kind of for maybe a little earlier on Monday, but wow. Yeah, look at off the coast of New England, though. Definitely quite strong wind gusts out there. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with those winds, but yeah, definitely really could be quite windy. Actually, you can see here for for Friday, even as we really start to build in that low, as that area of low pressure really starts to develop here, you can see that we really do kick up some strong winds, through the Midwest, the Ohio Valley here. 30, 40 mile an hour winds could not be ruled out here. Really starting in the Central Plains here for early Friday. Working its way, throughout Friday. So, yeah, just a bit of a heads up for the Central Plains, Midwest, and the Ohio Valley. Just prepare on some pretty strong winds to occur out here. Definitely does seem quite possible overall. So, we'll keep you in the loop. We'll keep you all in the loop here. All right, let's see here. Let me go ahead and get back to some of these comments here. Is there a threat for severe weather to Houston on Sunday? Sunday? Yeah, okay. Houston is right on the edge of the risk here for Sunday. You can see Storm Prediction Center for northern Houston. We do got ourselves a 15% chance. Severe weather will be possible in Houston on Sunday, so I would keep an eye out there for that, Calvin. It is a possibility, yes. What's the chance for a tornado in Ohio? The exact probability for tornadic activity right now is still unknown, Paxton, but we will see what happens. Let's see. Is it possible to do a sounding from my area on Monday? We already did that tabletop. All right, let's see here. Matthew wants me to take a look at a zip code. I got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at that real quickly. See what we got going on for you. Okay, so for Sunday's risk, yeah, you do have that 15% chance risk area. So, yeah, we do have the potential for severe weather here on Sunday. That gives you an overall 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather. So that is possible. That is certainly possible. So we will definitely keep an eye out there for that potential here on Sunday. If we take a look back at the models here, and we'll go ahead and grab a little sounding from GFS to kind of, just get an idea of what we could be seeing here. Once again, this is one model, though, after all, one model run. So, we'll take this fairly lightly. But let's just grab a sounding up in northern Mississippi here, just kind of see what the atmosphere could look like out in this region here. Okay, so one of the things I do notice right off the bat, we could have maybe some low-end tornado potential. There's a little bit of veering, so the wind speeds and wind directions are changing more to the east as we go up in altitude. Looking at our hodograph, there's a little arch here. That is, like I said, suggesting that as we go up in altitude, the wind's direction is changing more to the northeast and more to the east here, and increasing in wind speed as we go up. Also suggesting, relatively low-end helicity values. This contributes to maybe some weak tornadic activity being possible. Maybe some, isolated tornadic activity can't be ruled out. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that on a sounding like this, also damaging winds could be a concern, and maybe some small hail as well. So it does seem like a triple hazard kind of sounding here. Tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds does seem to be possible for this area. But given the fact that we do have relatively weak lower level winds, does suggest if we did get tornadic activity, it would likely be low end. It likely would not be anything significant. Okay, hopefully that helps out. All right, let's see here. Wiz wants me to take a look at Waco, Texas. I think Waco. Yeah, you guys are just right on the edge of that 15%. So the good news is that for you folks down in the deep south, the wind shear, so the winds in throughout the atmosphere are going to be fairly low. While we still have a good amount of instability down here, the wind shear is going to be fairly low, limiting the overall potency of these storms. But yeah, Waco is in the 15% risk area. We'll definitely keep an eye out there for that region there. Let's see here. Noah says, is Florida going to get some rain soon? We definitely need it. Within the next couple of days, at least for today, I don't think we're expecting any rain. But given this system here for Monday and Tuesday it could be possible. So, Monday and Tuesday would be the next big concern for maybe some rain up here in Florida. We definitely need it. That's for sure. Let's see here. What's the timing on storms in Nashville? Timing's still a little iffy given the fact we are still like 4 days out. So it's a little early to tell. But the closer we do get, I will let you know. So just remind me in the next couple of days, and I'll give you more information when that becomes available. Let's see. Real time says, "Hey Andy, can I do a sounding check for Augusta area?" Is that Augusta, Georgia? I'm assuming. But yes, I got you. So yeah, your risk is going to be on Monday. You probably already knew that. So for Augusta, all right, let's hop back to the models here. Remember, guys, like I said, this is one model. This is one model run, and we're still in the long range. So take this lightly. Don't take it too serious here. So given what the GFS suggests, so as we approach our way into the afternoon here of Monday, GFS shows a little bit of instability. Nothing really excessive. We do have some decent mid-level shear, though. Lower mid-level shear, good 50 knots or so. The good news is that I don't really see much of a tornado hazard because our low-level winds, right near that inflow layer, that's going to be fairly weak. Those winds are going to be fairly low, but as you go up in altitude, they do increase a little bit in speed. This is mostly linear, as you can see, mostly in the same direction as we gain altitude. So given that, honestly, tornadic activity would likely be very low given this event here, or given this sounding here. So tornadoes probably wouldn't be much of a concern. The main issue I see here would likely be just the potential for some strong wind gusts in this storm here. Maybe some damaging winds. Could be quite possible given a sounding like that. So that'll be for the afternoon on Monday when that cold front rolls through. All right, let's see here. Good morning, Darian. Hope you're doing good. How's Frankfort, Kentucky going to be when/if we get hit? So, like I mentioned, this really applies for everybody. Not everybody will see severe weather. I want to make that very clear. In the risk area, not everybody will see severe weather. However, the areas in the risk area here, the environment will be capable of producing it. So that could lead up in your area. That's the thing. So we need to look out for that. So Kentucky is in that big 15% risk area here. I mean, the entire state is engulfed in that 15%. So for Sunday, we do have that threat. Now for Frankfurt, given specifically, actually, I did not live too far away from here at one point. So for Frankfurt area, given a little view real quickly, let's see what we got going on here. So GFS suggests not a lot of instability, maybe enough just to get the job done. Let's grab a little sounding out here for kind of late Sunday and see what GFS kind of suggests the atmosphere might look like. So looking at this here, okay, so there is a little bit of veering going on here. So lower level winds at surface level are going to the northeast. As we gain altitude, the winds do change a little bit more to the east here. You can see that little arch on the hodograph here, suggesting that veering that we have, the change in wind direction with altitude, and an increase in wind speed. Given that helicity values are fairly decent, tornadic activity would definitely be possible. Definitely would be possible. So we'll watch out for that. Tornadoes does seem like a concern. Probably the main concern in a sounding like this. Also, some damaging wind gusts as well could be a concern as well. Between gusty winds and tornadic activity, that seems to be kind of a main concern in this sounding here. But remember, like I said, this is also just one model. This is one model run here. Between now and then, things can definitely change here overall. All right, let's see here. Noah says, what's the wind going to be like at 46217? Gotcha. Let me take a look at that real quickly. This is up in Indianapolis area. Okay, so yeah, for Sunday, you do have that 15% chance risk area here for severe weather. So one thing I do want to mention here, let's hop back to the models. So this is from the GFS model here. This is for, you can see the time in the top right. This is for Friday, actually. Heads up to you as, GFS suggests the possibility that we could be seeing, 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts out here for Friday. It's a pretty good amount of winds. Definitely need to look out there for that. So really strong winds will build in on Friday as that system really starts to come to develop here. As we go through Sunday, winds could pick up again, possibly 30, maybe upwards of 40 mile an hour wind gusts could be possible. And then that system rolls through and that high pressure builds back in. So Friday and Sunday looks to be very windy. It actually looks like Friday might be the windiest day for you. Yeah, I mean, look at this. GFS here suggesting possibly 40, maybe upwards of 50, mile per hour wind gusts out there. That's that's certainly quite strong winds. That does not take into consideration the wind gusts that could be existent in the storms. So keep that in mind, okay? So that's that. That is that. Now, comparing this to Euro, like we mentioned, looking at the European model, it's obviously good to compare. You see how tight these isobars are, these lines of, equal pressure. They're pretty tight. And looking at what Euro suggests here, whenever that loads here. But looking at what Euro... Is it not loading? Maybe it'll load, maybe it won't. Well, given the fact that, Euro does show some pretty tight isobars here, it would likely still suggest that it's very, very, strong winds. Just from the rapid change in pressure alone, causes those strong winds. So since this model's not loading, let's try NAM real quickly. Before I give up on that, let's try NAM, because I think we're within range here for NAM to show up maybe. Oh, here we go. Looks like it's starting to load here. Yes. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So look at this. So for Friday, yeah, NAM does also suggest possibly even 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts out there. Definitely quite strong. Those winds would likely be pretty strong out there towards the region there. So, yeah, Friday, definitely keep an eye out there for it. Really, Friday, Saturday, going through Sunday, it just seems like windy days from Friday to Sunday. So definitely need you to keep it out there for that. Let's see here. All right, Railfan, I got you, my friend. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So, Emmanuel, that kind of applies to you as well, my friend, towards Indianapolis. So, yeah, keep it out there for those winds out there. All right, let's hop back over here real quickly. Looking Georgia for Railfan here. So, you, my friend, are in that risk area here for Monday. Day 5. You can see you're in that 15% risk area here. So, 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather. So, just a bit of a heads up out there for you. Let me grab a sounding out here real quickly. Let's kind of see what the model suggests. Where are you? You're kind of up by the Atlanta area. Gotcha. So GFS does not really show a whole lot of instability. That could definitely change between now and then. Let's grab a sounding out here, towards the Atlanta region to see what models are suggesting. Once again, this is one model run, still long range, so things are bound to change. To be quite fair, a pretty decent amount of wind shear, especially in our mid-upper atmosphere. So the winds are pretty strong in the middle and upper atmosphere. There's not much veering going on. Most of the wind shear is linear, meaning that, essentially the winds are mostly moving in the same direction, no matter what altitude you're at. That would be good, to keep things not really spinning. Although, with that being said, though, we do have decent helicity. I wouldn't rule out tornadic activity completely. But to be quite fair, main concern here that I would see would probably be just some gusty winds and whatnot. Like I said, not a lot of instability here according to GFS. But remember, things are still evolving. We'll see what happens. All right, let's see here. Good morning, Levi. I hope you're doing good, my friend. Kayla says, hey Andrew, hey everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. You as well. Andrew, I was just curious, what do I think about Indiana? I live in Shelbyville. Please and thank you. No problem. Let me take a look at that real quickly. So I do know that you are in the risk area for Sunday. So yeah, you are in the risk area here for Sunday. Let's go ahead and bring up Sunday's risk here. So you do have a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather on Sunday. So we did grab some soundings out here. Also, strong winds from Friday to Sunday will definitely be a concern. Potential for wind gusts, in excess of 30 to 40 miles an hour. Keep that in mind. That's just from the rapid change in pressure. That's not from the line of storms that we're expecting. So on the line of storms, the winds could be a little stronger, of course. But looking at GFS here, according to this model, we do have a decent amount of instability, nothing excessive, honestly kind of low-end amounts of instability here, but it should be enough to get the job done, especially the further north you go, the higher the wind shear is, the stronger the winds are in the atmosphere, which could definitely help contribute to more organized storms, despite low amounts of instability. With this being said, though, yeah, you can see definitely our mid-upper level winds are very strong here throughout our mid-upper atmosphere. Lower level winds aren't anything super significant either. Honestly, given a sounding like this, given we do have, low amounts of helicity, not much veering going on. If we did get tornadic activity, it would likely be weak. Main concern here would just honestly be kind of gusty winds, to be quite fair. Relatively lower end threat. Tornadoes couldn't rule them out completely, but that's kind of what GFS suggests. But remember, like I said, that's just one model. That's one model run. It's kind of a little early too as well. All right, Landon says, can I check for tomorrow's weather in Texas? I got you, my friend. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quickly. See what we got going on out here. So we're actually first of all, we're in the 15% risk area for Sunday. I know you wanted to look at tomorrow, but I just want to let you know you are in the risk for Sunday as well. Today's risk, there's that. Tomorrow, tomorrow we do have a marginal risk, a level 1 severe weather threat out there. So there is the potential for some strong to potentially severe thunderstorms here for tomorrow. We do have a low-end tornado probability. So the odds of you getting a tornado is very low. This is a 2% chance of having a tornado within a 25-mile radius of your location. The odds of getting a tornado is very low, and if we did, it would likely remain weak and brief. Not really any strong tornadic activity expected tomorrow. Now, given the winds here, we do have potential for some damaging wind gusts, in excess of 60 miles an hour. Some of those storms, isolated severe storms, could potentially push some of those wind gusts over 60. And then lastly, we do have a little hail threat as well, 5% chance for hail, ranging between 1 to 2 inches in diameter. All right, let's see here. Real Time says, can I do a sounding for Augusta, Georgia? See if anything's updated. Did I already do Augusta, Georgia? Let's see here. Yeah, so I already did your area real-time storms. I don't know if you saw. But yeah, we already did do yours. I'll do it again real quickly, just because you might have missed it. So let me grab another sounding out here for pretty much afternoon on Monday. See what the GFS suggests here. Once again, this is just one model, model run and whatnot. So given the environment here, not really much of a tornado concern, honestly. I mean, we're not really seeing anything super crazy tornadic wise. The main concern is going to be likely just some gusty winds. Given a sounding like this here for Sunday, or sorry, not Sunday, Monday. So we'll keep it out there for that. Remember, like I said, this is just one model run as well. So we'll see how things play out. But yeah, tornadoes does not really seem much of a concern out here. All right, let's see here. Renita says, can it change a lot from what you've been showing us so far? It's driving me crazy, not really knowing. So there could definitely be some minor changes, but I think generally speaking, we have a good idea on what this event could look like at this point, given the models are relatively in sync as they were yesterday. There's not a whole lot of big changes that's been made. Changes are certainly still possible, of course, given the fact we are still 4 or 5 days out from the event, of course. And especially once we start to get some mid and short range model support from this storm system, we'll learn some more about it. The answer to that is yes. There definitely could be some changes, but significant changes, the closer we do get, the lower that becomes probable. What's up, Darian? Hope you're doing good. How about Columbus, Ohio? Can we get an enhanced risk? It's a little early to tell, man. It's a little early to tell, but I will suggest GFS does not really suggest a lot of instability out there. Obviously, in order to have an enhanced risk, certain criteria must be met, in terms of the potential of how strong and how probable those severe storms could, be. There's really no way of telling right now, but I wouldn't count on it, to be quite fair. Let's see here. Steady says, what about Hot Springs, Arkansas? Let's see here. Hot Springs, Arkansas. Go ahead and bring this up for you. Okay, so you are in that 15% risk here for Sunday. So you got a 15% chance risk out there for Sunday. Let me grab a sounding out here as well. It's good just to kind of see what the atmosphere could look like out here. Okay, so late Sunday, the atmosphere opens up. We have a decent amount of instability here. Let's go ahead and grab a sounding from GFS, see what this model suggests. Once again, take this with a grain of salt. One model run. Let's see here. So lower level winds are not very strong. However, mid-upper level winds are definitely pretty strong. But given the fact our lower level winds are fairly weak and relatively linear, moving in the same direction, with altitude, tornadoes would not be much of a concern. However, storm organization would likely be fairly decent considering how strong our mid-upper level winds are. So storms could definitely, materialize into quite strong storms. Given a sounding like this, damaging winds and hail would be a concern. The sounding analog does, suggest, you can see pretty large hail potential, from a similar environment like this. So definitely is quite possible, definitely for severe weather. In terms of, damaging winds and hail. Like I said, tornadic activity, not really. Let's see here. All right, Matthew, got you, my friend. Let's go and take a look at Matthew's real quickly. Let's go ahead and head on over here. This is up in Alabama. Gotcha. So your risk is going to be on Monday. So we do have ourselves 15% chance out here for severe weather. Let's go ahead and grab a view down in southeast Alabama. Let's see what we got going on here. So honestly, even Sunday, I wouldn't rule out potential for storms, given that there's no cap and that there's a fair amount of instability available in that warm sector here, ahead of the line of storms, ahead of that cold front there. Sunday, there could be some storms. Wind shear is fairly weak, so organization of those storms would likely be pretty low, and wouldn't likely be anything crazy. Your main threat, though, is going to be on Monday. So here for kind of the afternoon on Monday, the atmosphere opens up again. Cap is broken as daylight heating occurs. Look at that sounding suggested by GFS. Pretty good amount of instability. Not really much of a concern tornadic-wise. There's a little bit of veering, a little bit of change in wind direction with altitude, but lower level winds are fairly weak, especially helicity on the lower side as well. Main concern here actually would be hail. Hail and maybe some gusty winds in this storm could definitely be a concern. That would be the main concern that I would keep it out there for, at least according to the sounding here. Once again, take that lightly, though. Once again, this is one model. This is one model run. We're still in long range and stuff. We're still, 5 days away from this event. So things are likely probably going to be changing here. So we'll keep it out there for that. Renita says, thanks, Andrew. No problem. No problem at all. You're welcome, real time. Tabletop says, so as of right now from my area, I mainly worry about hail and damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado, right? So I forgot what I said about your area because I've been going over so many of them. I believe I said tornadoes were not much of a concern given low wind shear, given weak lower level winds, not really contributing to a tornado threat, and if any, very low end, which I don't think much tornadic activity will be a concern out there, at least given current model suggestion. Yeah, the main concern out there would likely be just potential for gusty winds and maybe some hail. Let's see here. Can I do can I check for northern Indiana just in case? Hold on. Sorry, I read that wrong. Can you do a check for northern Indiana just to check for southern Indiana, please, and thank you. Do a sounding. Okay. Let me pull this up. So we mentioned earlier that there is not a threat currently for northern Indiana. Like I said, the instability runs fairly thin up there. Not much instability, not much fuel for storms up that high north. I can grab a sounding from GFS to kind of see what's going on here, but like I said, there's really not much room to work with here. GFS does not really suggest much instability or fuel for these storms. Given this environment here, to be quite fair, it looks very low end. If we did get anything, it would likely be low end severe. I mean, yeah, we do have some pretty strong mid upper level wind shear. Lower level winds are, nothing really special. Tornadic activity does not seem like much of a concern here. Damaging wind threat seems fairly low as well, and even even a hail threat seems fairly low. Even the potential hazard type does suggest maybe marginal severe, low and severe thunderstorm activity. To be quite fair, this is not really an environment that's going to be super crazy, at least what this model suggests here. Remember, things can still change early, since we're still early. But given the fact that northern Indiana is way up there, there's a good chance that a lot of that instability and fuel will not make its way up that high. And if there is, not enough to do anything significant. Because you can see, mixed layer instability here, according to GFS, is fairly low. We're under 500 joules per kilogram. That's low energy. That's really not much. So that's that. That's about all I can really tell you right now. But just remember, you're not in the risk area. Storm Prediction Center does not have you in that region because they don't think you're going to be really in much of a big concern as of right now. And I can see that. All right, let's see here. Hank says, could I check on Las Vegas, Nevada for me? It's been kind of rough with the earthquakes. I hope you know that I can't really forecast earthquakes, but I can look at the weather out there for you and see what we got going on. I don't think we really have much. Definitely not anything severe going on. There's no instability for storms, anything like that. Really not a lot going on for you out there. I can bring you over to the models here. We'll look at the GFS, or actually the NAM that we're on right now. It does look like we definitely could get some gusty winds out here. Maybe 20, maybe upwards of 30 miles an hour here for, let's see, this is Thursday into Friday, so that would be late today going into tomorrow. Could be some gusty winds out there. Regarding, rainfall and anything, doesn't look like we have too much. Maybe a little bit of showers on Friday could be possible. Tomorrow could be possible. Let me pull up HRRR here. Let's see what the HER model has to suggest. Let's do 14 Zulu. Actually, let's do 12 Zulu. Let's get that extended range there. Yeah, we could get some showers and stuff developing here for Friday. But nothing really crazy. Like I said, there's no instability out there, no threat for severe weather or anything along that. Maybe just some gusty winds, 20, 30 mile an hour winds tomorrow. Maybe a little bit of rain. That's really about it. Not really much going on out there. But anyways, folks. Well, honestly, I'm probably going to head off here relatively soon, guys. So if y'all have any final questions before I do so, let me know. It's kind of a longer live stream today, actually. This morning, we're almost at an hour and a half. Typically, our update live streams last about an hour or so. But this evening, I will go live again for you guys. We'll go live again this evening so I can give you guys more of an updated view. Later this evening, we'll have new model runs out. We'll have new outlooks out. So we'll have some more information for you this evening. So we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop. Like I said, we'll definitely keep you guys updated with everything. So we're here for you. Hank, I can't really forecast earthquakes. Nobody really can, to be honest with you. That's more geology. That's not meteorology. Let's see here. Laura says, Andrew, I'm late. Does any of this come up as far as New York City or New York State? We've had serious unpredictable weather the past year, anything remotely close. I checked. So I will tell you now, we do not have a risk for really any of New York State or New York City. Storm Prediction Center here for Monday does not include your area. The farthest north that the risk is here is like central New Jersey, in that 15%. Now, for New York, if we were to take a look back at the models here, and we hop up to the northeast here, honestly, there could be trace amounts of instability. Really wouldn't do too much. Let me look at Euro, see what Euro suggests here. Euro does show a little bit of unstable air. Hardly any, though. Honestly, to be quite fair, I don't see much of a concern out there for anything nasty in this region. Instability is fairly thin. Not much fuel for storms, really. The further south you go, the more that fuel increases. You can see definitely in the south, we have a pretty good amount of unstable air. It's very unstable down south, but the further north you go, you can see just how much that thins out. There's really not much of a concern up there. I don't really see. Once again, SPC also does not have any of that risk going up into those regions there. So, anyways, Anyways, folks, well, if y'all have any final questions, feel free to throw them down in the chat. Like I said, we're getting ready to head off here in a few moments. Just want to go ahead and say thank you, everybody, for joining. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing. I'm not going to hold you to it, but just consider it. That way you guys could stay weather aware, not just with this system, but any other future systems that we cover as well. And if you guys could leave a like as well, it'd be greatly appreciated. Maybe share this to a friend, a family member. Help spread the word out there. The more people we can reach, the more potential, people we can help. And if you guys could help, share this content, help share this, post it on social media, whatnot, it'd be greatly appreciated. It would. And it could definitely go a long way in helping people out as well. Laura says, thank you, Andrew. No problem. No problem. Milky says, Andrew, can I check on Miami, Florida for me? I'm going to the Marlins baseball game today. Gotcha. Yeah. One thing I will say, though, is that Miami should be fairly decent today. I was looking earlier at Florida since I live in Florida. Not quite in Miami, but here, let me bring up the CHRRR here. All right, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting much activity today out here today. Yeah, to be quite fair, there's really not much going on. Let's see, is there any instability out there? Really not, no. I think you'll be fine. I do. I don't think we're really going to be seeing too much out there. Wind gusts, HRRR, I mean, it could be 15 to 20 mile an hour wind gusts. Yeah, you'll be good. It'll be fine out there. Honestly, let me look at cloud cover too. Let's see here. It looks like most of the day will be pretty clear. Starting off, maybe a little cloudy. But it looks like, mostly speaking, a relatively clear day. So, enjoy your game, man. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. Like I said, we'll catch you guys later on here for tonight. We'll go live again at some point. I'm not sure. Probably around 8 o'clock or so. Don't hold me to it because, that time could change. But somewhere in the evening later today, we'll give you guys another update. Because, like I said, we'll have new updates, new outlooks, new model runs and everything like that as well. Chris coming in with a $10 super chat, man. Chris, thank you so much, dude. Big thank you goes to Chris. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Y'all in chat, please give Chris a big thank you for the support. But Chris, man, thank you for the 10, dude. I appreciate that. Very, very nice of you, dude. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. I appreciate it, man. Robert says, Andrew, how are you today? I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you're doing good as well. Saying I was curious if my area in Springfield, Missouri. Okay, so Springfield, Missouri is in the risk here for Sunday. We do have that 15% chance probability regarding severe weather potential. So I do need you to be weather aware on Sunday, as a bit of severe weather is possible. Doing a little bit more of a deep dive into what models are kind of suggesting. Just given the environment, what we could be looking like. As you can see, okay, so we work our way throughout, pretty much afternoon on Sunday. Let's grab a little sounding here just to see what the atmosphere could be capable of producing. Once again, this is one model. This is one model run. So take this lightly. Don't take it too serious. Given an environment like this, there is a decent amount of instability, a decent amount of fuel, especially in our mid-atmosphere. Which could allow for some decent thunderstorm growth to occur. Lower level winds aren't really anything super significant. Our mid-upper level winds really do increase, though. They are pretty strong in our mid-upper atmosphere. With that being said, there's a little bit of veering. So in our surface winds are moving to the northeast, and as we go up in altitude, they slightly change a little bit more to the east here. There's a little arch here on the hodograph, you notice. Suggesting that we have a little bit of a change in wind direction with altitude and a little bit of an increase in wind speed as well. So with that being said, also contributing to low helicity values, maybe some weak tornadic activity could occur. Relatively low-end tornadic activity could be possible out there. So that is a possibility. Also, some gusty winds on this storm wouldn't be ruled out either. I do think that is a possibility as well. So we'll keep you updated. As of now, like I said, Sunday, definitely need you to keep an eye out there for the weather overall. Absolutely. Robert coming in with a 10 as well, my friend. Robert, thank you so much, dude. Goodness, man. Robert, thanks for the 10. I appreciate that support, my friend. Big shout out goes to Robert. Y'all in chat, please give Robert a big thank you for the $10. I appreciate it, my friend. Chris, Robert, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all very, very much. Once again, thank you guys. Big shout out goes to you. Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate it, man. Molly says, Andrew, can I check on Dallas for me? I heard there's several rain chances tonight, tomorrow. Yeah, I got you. So we do have a little bit of severe weather possible in Texas. You said for what, Dallas? Yeah, Dallas. Today, okay, a little shot for thunderstorms today. We do have a generalized thunderstorm risk, which means, potential for a few booms here and there. A little bit of thunderstorm activity today can't be ruled out. Tomorrow, same thing, generalized thunderstorm risk. There's a little threat for severe weather just south of you tomorrow. We'll see what they do with that. But as of now, between today and tomorrow, you're not in the risk for severe thunderstorms. However, a couple of thunderstorms will be possible between today and tomorrow. We work our way over here into Saturday. You're kind of outside of that general thunderstorm risk here. So today, tomorrow, a little bit of storm activity is possible. Just a little bit of a heads up, they did extend that 15% wind risk here into Dallas. Or sorry, let's say wind risk. Sorry, severe weather risk, not wind risk. They did extend that 15% severe weather risk into the Dallas area. So for Sunday, I'm going to need you to keep an eye out there for it. That's going to be kind of the main day that we're going to need you to, be weather aware out there. So just a heads up to you on Sunday. We'll keep you informed. We'll keep you updated. But yeah, just know that is a possibility. Real quickly, before I roll off, I do want to, I'll grab a sounding for you real quickly, just to kind of see what the atmosphere could be capable of. Once again, a bit of a disclaimer. This is one model run. Still long-range support here, too, as well. So, there definitely could still be some changes. But the atmosphere, that's an interesting photograph. To be quite fair, there is pretty good news with this. Our lower-level winds are very weak. And if we did get tornadic activity, which, Helicity could support it, if we did get tornadoes, it would likely be very weak. Very low-end, very brief. Tornadoes really is not much of a big concern. Despite this saying tornado, you shouldn't strictly go off of that. Given our lower-level winds here, low helicity, if we did get tornadoes, like I said, they'd be relatively weak overall. With that being said, though, I do see a big concern for hail and damaging winds. So on the SARS analog system here, we do have some results coming up of pretty large hail potential here. So we'll keep an eye out there for that. Also, D-Cape values nearly 800 could definitely support some strong wind gusts out there. Our downwards energy, pretty good amount of potential out there for maybe some like I said, maybe some strong wind gusts, some hail, and maybe some weak tornadic activity. Fairly low end overall with that. See here. Wait to see this. Hold on. Wait till you see what I send tonight. So, Robert, you don't got to do anything, man. I appreciate it, though. Thank you for the support. Dude, Proxy coming in with a $50 donation. Yo, Proxy. What's good, Prox? Thank you so much for the 50, dude. Wow. No way, Prox. Thank you. Proxy, so much for the 50. You did not have to do that, my friend. If you have any questions, Prox, I'm here for you. I appreciate that. Y'all in chat, please give Proxy a big, big thank you. I really appreciate that. Proxy, thank you so much, my friend. Once again, a big shout out to all of our supporters. Of course, everybody for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. But, special thanks goes to Proxy, Robert, Chris, and Renita. I really appreciate y'all today. I appreciate y'all all the time. But big thank you, guys. Seriously. Proxy, thanks for the 50. Wow. Very, very sweet of you. Let's see. Tiny says, could I check on Green Bay, Wisconsin? Yeah, so the good news is up there in Wisconsin, honestly, I really don't see much of a concern. Instability runs fairly thin out here. You can see here for Sunday, later Sunday, there's really not a lot of instability that builds out here for storm activity. I'm not concerned really for Wisconsin, to be quite fair with you. However, that's for the main event. Now, for tomorrow, actually, we do have a little marginal risk here for central northern Wisconsin. That does not include tornadic activity, though, which is good. So we do not have a risk for tornadoes for Wisconsin tomorrow. One thing, though, I would keep an eye out there for, really the only concern, actually, for Wisconsin is the potential for hail. We do have ourselves, a 5% chance for hail out here, ranging between 1 to 2 inches in diameter, could be quite possible. So a little bit of hail is possible. That's kind of the only concern, really, for tomorrow. But once again, not even a wind threat is not even there for Wisconsin. So really the main thing you got to look out for is maybe just a little bit of gusty winds out here overall. So not too concerned for your area, but that's tomorrow. And once again, this big event that's coming up would likely not include you, considering there's really not much instability out there. Prox says, hi, Andrew. Sorry to miss your stream. You're good. You're good, Prox. Saying anything for Northeast Ohio. Let's take a look here. So for today, nothing. For tomorrow, tomorrow you have a generalized thunderstorm threat, potential for maybe a little bit of thunderstorm activity. So Proxy, a couple boom booms are possible for tomorrow. Nothing big, though. Same thing for, what is that, Saturday? Yeah, going into Saturday, we have a little thunderstorm risk. Nothing severe, though. So for Sunday, okay, so you can see you're just right next to that 15% risk area. Proxy, I would keep an eye out there for the possibility maybe for strong to potentially severe storms here. You're right on the edge of that risk there. A single update could put you in that risk, so we'll just need you to keep an eye on it. As of now, you're not in the SPC risk, though, but I would still keep an eye out there for the potential of strong to potentially severe storms. Now, taking a look at the models here, we're going to hop over to the Ohio Valley here. Looking at just a suggestion from the GFS, for late Sunday, I'm going to grab a sounding out here. The good news is that, at least from GFS, we're kind of seeing a low amount of instability. Really not a lot of fuel for these storms here. One thing I will say, though, the good news is that, like I said, we do not have much instability, but our wind shear is quite strong, at least according to GFS overall. So our surface winds are moving to the northeast here, and as we go up in altitude, the wind direction changes a bit more to the east here. So we do have a little bit of veering going on. You can see the photograph is a little arch here too, suggesting that the winds are increasing in wind speed and changing their direction more to the east as we go up in altitude, which that can give potential for rotating storms. I mean, high helicity values. Really, the instability is kind of really lacking in keeping that tornado threat fairly low. Wind shear wise, there's a pretty good amount of strong winds throughout the atmosphere and whatnot. Couldn't rule out a couple isolated tornadoes, to be quite honest with you. Maybe some gusty winds as well. But as of now, that threat is fairly low overall, just given the fact that there's not a whole lot of instability out there. Let's see here. Proxy coming in with another 20, my friend. Proxy, thank you so much. Well, I should say another donation. Proxy, thank you so much for the 20. I appreciate it, Sam, for your goal. Thank you so much. I don't know why the 50 you sent earlier didn't count as the goal. Proxy, you're way too nice. You did not have to do that, my friend. Big thank you, Prox. Like I said, if there's anything I can do for you, please feel free to let me know. I'm here for you. I really appreciate your support, Prox. Thank you so much. Big thank you. Raka says, what about West Central Indiana for Sunday? So here is Sunday's risk here. We're going to take a little sounding out here in West Central Indiana here. Just once again, this is one model run. I have to keep saying that just so people know. This is, things could be a little different between now and the time that we approach this event here. This is an idea of what the atmosphere could look like at the right around the time. So given things here, honestly, tornadoes can't be ruled out. Our lower level winds, you can see at surface level, we are moving to the northeast. As we go up in altitude, the wind direction changes a bit more to the east. Also shown on our photograph, a little arch here showing once again that we have some veering, winds here. Winds are increasing in wind speed as we go up in altitude and changing direction here as well. So, given that low end helicity. Tornadic activity could be possible. If we did get it, it would likely remain on the lower side of the scale, likely weaker, tornadic activity. Another concern would likely be just some, strong wind gust potential, maybe some damaging winds. Decape's fairly on the lower side, that downwards energy. But given the fact that we do have some pretty strong lower level winds, could help contribute to maybe some stronger wind gusts out there. So with that being said, damaging winds, maybe some isolated tornadic activity can't be ruled out. So we'll see what happens. Let's see here. Once again, Prox, thank you so much for the 20. I appreciate it. Bebe says, can I check on New Orleans, Louisiana? We are getting things together from that tornado warning a few weeks ago. Gotcha. Yeah, let me take a look out there for you. Glad to see that you're okay, though. So New Orleans, okay, so we do have, okay, so not for Sunday, but for Monday, we do have a 15% chance out there for severe weather. Right now, there's no breakdown on the exact probability for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. Right now, there's not that exact breakdown. Generally speaking, though, we have a 15% chance probability of seeing severe weather in general. Now, the good news is that, the further south we go into the country, the lower or the weaker the winds are throughout the atmosphere, which is good. The weaker those winds are, the less organized severe weather will be, the less potent severe weather will be as well. At least regarding like tornadic activity and stuff, that threat is pretty low the further south you go. The tornado threat would be more increased the further north you go up. Now, looking at the, let's see here. Here's Sunday's risk here. So going into Monday, I wouldn't even rule out potential for storms on Sunday. Just given the fact that there's no cap, there's a pretty decent amount of instability throughout Louisiana here. So for Sunday, don't be surprised if there's some storm activity. Going into Monday, though, that's going to be your main threat, where your instability and your wind shear is the strongest. Let me go ahead and grab a quick little sounding here. Once again, just an example of what the atmosphere could look like here. So yeah, I mean, like I was saying here, you can see definitely in this picture, our lower level winds are very weak, and mostly linear. You can see there's a slight change in wind direction, but really would not support anything tornadic, to be quite honest with you. One thing I will say, hail and damaging winds would likely be a decent concern. I mean, our downwards cape, our D cape here is nearly 1,000 joules per kilogram. It's decent. Fairly strong downward winds. Could be quite possible. Obviously being further south, closer to the Gulf, we have great moisture supply. Our dew points are in the upper 60s. You're going to definitely notice it being quite muggy out there. Generally speaking, though, like I said, gusty winds, hail are your main concerns. Honestly, I really don't see tornado potential here, just in general. Helicity is very low. For one, not much veering going on. The winds aren't even pointing really in the right direction for tornadic activity. So, yeah, you look pretty good, at least from tornadoes. Not really anything to worry about. But gusty winds and hail is kind of the main concern. But remember, that is just one model run. It's an extended range forecast. Things can still change between now and the time we get to the event. So keep that in mind. But for now, I don't see much of a tornado concern for you. Hopefully that helps. What's up, Janice? Hope you're doing good. What am I expecting for Joplin, Missouri on Saturday? So let's see here. So Joplin is in that 15%. I do know that. Let's see, for the morning of Sunday, we do have a bit of instability in the region, but there's a decent cap in effect. Might be a little difficult for storms firing here. But let me grab a sounding, see what we got going on. Yeah, you can definitely see that capping inversion there. See that little bulge there? So what that means is that the temperature as we go up in altitude is actually increasing when it should be decreasing. So for thunderstorm activity, you want those temperatures to rapidly decrease with altitude. But what we have in the lower atmosphere is those winds increasing in altitude, or increasing in temperature with altitude. So that'll actually prevent or make it very hard for storms to develop there. It's a pretty strong cap. But if that cap is able to be broken, given the wind shear here, we do have a little bit of veering. Our lower level surface winds are moving to the north. As we go up in altitude a few kilometers, the wind direction changes here to the northeast. Photograph does suggest, like I said, a little arch there, showing that there is veering going on. There is a change in wind direction and with altitude and in wind speed here as well. Definitely, there could be some tornadic potential in this, if we can break that cap. Gusty winds could be a concern as well. Between damaging wind gusts and maybe some isolated tornadic activity, that seems to be quite possible. But for the region out there, like we mentioned, Joplin is in that 15% risk area overall. So we'll definitely keep an eye out there for it. Remember, like I said, this is long-range guidance. This is still early in the model runs and stuff. So there is a lot of things that could change between now and then. So keep that in mind. Anyways, Proxy says, thanks for all you do for us, Andrew. Proxy, thank you for all you do to help us out. Seriously. Proxy, you're amazing. I appreciate it. I'm glad to help out, though. I really am. And thank you so much for being amazing and such a great supporter on the channel. Proxy, you are the top supporter on this channel. So, thank you. Seriously. That's the least I could say. Seriously. You're welcome, Raka. Let's see here. Darian says, what am I expecting for Grove Hill, Alabama area for Sunday? Let me see real quickly. Let me go ahead and bring up your zip code real quickly here. So you said for Sunday. Sunday. Alrighty, so that would be on day 4. So actually, you can see a Sunday. You're right on the edge of that, or you're right in that 15% risk area. Between Sunday and Monday, you do have a 15% risk out there for severe weather. Looking at the models like the GFS here, for early guidance, you can kind of see here. Okay, first thing I will mention: late Sunday. You can see that there is instability or potential for thunderstorm activity in the region, even on Sunday. The good news is that the wind shear, those winds throughout the atmosphere are fairly low end, which would likely contribute to really not anything significant severe weather-wise. Let me grab a sounding, which we are right now. You can see, yeah, so our wind shear in the lower mid-atmosphere is very weak. Really not much going on here. Still an environment where thunderstorms could occur, definitely. Possibly even some strong downwards winds, some strong, gusty winds on this could be possible. Maybe a little bit of hail. Sounding does support some strong thunderstorm activity being possible. But your main threat as we work way into Monday here, so Monday afternoon, late Monday morning going into the afternoon, once again, we have a decent amount of instability here. Let's see here. The winds increase in, like I said, in wind speed. They do increase, as we approach our way here into Monday. Given the environment here for Monday, though, even though this says tornado, you should not go off a potential hazard type alone, and here's why. Because in this case, our lower level winds are fairly weak, and you can see our hodograph is mostly linear. Those winds are moving mostly in just one direction. For tornadic activity, you really need those winds to aggressively change in wind direction and in wind speed with altitude. So yes, we are increasing our wind speed with altitude, but our wind direction is staying the same. From our lower atmosphere, you can see those winds moving east. To our mid-atmosphere, those winds moving east. To our upper atmosphere, those winds moving east. So those winds are moving, like I said, relatively here in the same direction overall. So given that, also helicity is fairly low. I don't see much of a tornado concern, though, even if this says tornado potential hazard type, okay? So we'll keep that in mind. Also, dew points I will mention, lower 70s. That's pretty good moisture. Anyways, though, so that's that. Main concern here would be just gusty winds, maybe some small hail. Could be a concern out there. The main leading threat, though, I believe, is just going to be really potential for strong winds overall. Anyways, let's see here. Daisy says, could I check on Kansas City for you? Yeah, of course. Good news is that, for this event, Kansas City is likely not going to see anything too much. So for early Sunday, we do build in some instability into the region, but given the fact it's early morning, we are going to have a big capping inversion, which is going to make it very difficult, if not impossible, for storms to actually fire off this early. So while there is instability in the atmosphere, there will be a big cap in place that would prevent storms from really happening here. So that's good. And honestly, that's probably why they do not have Kansas City area, or, just to the north of Kansas City, in Kansas City area, not in that risk area because of that strong cap. We'll see what happens. Once again, this is still early guidance and whatnot. Just know right now, though, Kansas City is not in that 15% risk area here for Sunday. So we'll see what happens in the future, as things could definitely change. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Could you check my travel from Houston, Texas to Miami, Florida? What weather should I expect to drive, or should I stay home? When are you traveling? That's very important. If you're traveling today, you would beat this big event. But if you're traveling a different day, that could be a problem. Yeah, let me know what day you're traveling, because that's a big thing here. But Houston to Miami, that's a long drive. That is a long drive. So Houston's in the risk on Sunday, and the route you're going to be going through on Monday is going to be in the risk here. I'm assuming you're taking I-10, which is from west to east here, which this area is in that risk area. A lot of your route is. So if you're traveling on Monday, we're going to need you to keep an eye out there for it. Sunday as well, actually. Sunday and Monday, if you're traveling on those days, keep an eye out there for it. If you're traveling today, honestly, you should be able to beat the storms. Tomorrow, there's a little chance for severe weather out here towards Houston. Nothing really big. We do have a little shot for tornadoes, a 2% chance, low end shot. If we did get tornadoes, they would likely be weak and brief, low end chance. Some gusty winds, up to 60 mile an hour wind gusts being possible, and hail, between 1 to 2 inches in diameter can't be ruled out. But definitely if you're traveling between Sunday and Monday, those will be the days that you really need to look out for. Okay? Anyways, let's see here. Darian says, thanks, Andrew. No problem. Anthony says, thank you. No problem. You guys are very welcome. Let's see here. Can I check on Troy, Ohio? Yes. Got you. But we're going to be heading off after this, guys. I've been live almost 2 hours this morning. We've been live for a little bit. So Troy, Ohio, so we do have that 15% risk here on Sunday. Let's go and bring up Sunday's risk here. So we do have that 15% chance out there for severe weather. So we do need you to be weather aware on Sunday. There is that 15% chance. The good news is that once we work our way up towards Ohio, at least according to GFS and whatnot, with early model guidance and everything, it looks like overall, we are going to be seeing, a relatively low amount of instability here. Fuel for storms is pretty low. So given that, we really don't have a lot of fuel for those storms, but, we'll have to see what happens overall. Let me grab a sounding here in southwestern Ohio, just kind of see what the atmosphere could be capable of. It does look like there might be a little bit of a cap here. Slight cap. Cold front should be able to plow right through that, though. So given an environment here, like I mentioned, low in instability, there's not a lot of fuel for these storms, but there is some pretty decent wind shear. Our lower level winds towards ground level are moving to the north-northeast. As we go up in altitude, they do change their direction to the east-northeast. And you can see on the photograph, there's a little arch here suggesting that we are increasing in wind speed with altitude and changing our wind direction as well, which is needed for tornadic activity. Helicity values here, decent. So tornadic activity could be possible for some of these regions in Ohio, southwest Ohio. It is possible. Maybe some gusty winds could occur as well. Between gusty winds and maybe an isolated tornado threat, that's kind of your main concern in general. MD says, thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, no problem. You're very welcome. But, all right, everybody. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up here for now. Like I said, we'll go live again later tonight. I'm not sure what time yet, but we'll set a stream for later this evening. If you guys did enjoy it, consider leaving a like if you're new to the channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, if you guys could share this channel to as many people as you can. Put it on your social media platforms. Tell your friends and family to subscribe. The reason I tell you that is just because, the more people we can reach, the more potential people we can help out. And I'm down for helping out as much people as possible. So if you guys could help share this, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all for joining. Once again, if you haven't already, consider leaving a like on your way out. Hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. It'd be greatly appreciated. Y'all don't have to, but if y'all could, it would be much, much appreciated. Big thank you goes to our supporters. Proxy, thank you so much once again for your support. Let me go ahead and go over our donators real quickly. Go ahead and give a final thank you to the people who have supported us, just as a big thank you. I really do appreciate all of you. Every single one of you I appreciate, but, big thank you does go to our supporters as well. So big shout outs does go to Proxy. Thank you so much, Proxy. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Renita. And also Dixie for the $5 on Venmo. Thank you so much, my friends. I really appreciate y'all. Once again, thank you to Dixie, Renita, Chris, Robert, and Proxy. For all the support. I really appreciate it, guys. And of course, everybody for joining us, everybody for liking, subscribing. I appreciate it. But all right, everybody. Well, we'll catch you all later today. Once again, not sure what time I'll go live, but we will go live whenever I can later this evening. So y'all stay tuned for another update. Make sure you turn on those notifications if you haven't already as well. And alrighty, everybody. Well, stream's going to head off here in about 1 minute, so go ahead and say goodbye to your friends, your family, anybody you're hanging out with in the chat. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for joining. You'll have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys later this evening. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace out, my friends. See ya later on.